This episode is presented to you by NFL Sunday Ticket, now on YouTube and YouTube TV. With NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube and YouTube TV, you can watch your favorite teams' out-of-market Sunday games, plus watch up to 4 games at once with Multiview. Don't miss the race to the playoffs. NFL Sunday Ticket is now just $39 when bundled with YouTube TV, where you get even more football. Visit youtube.com/Spotify offer to sign up now. Lowest price on YouTube TV with base plan. Rest of 2023 season. Terms and embargoes apply. No cancellations.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. From your morning podcast to your afternoon playlist, State Farm knows you personalize your entire day. And that's why State Farm helps you personalize your insurance with the State Farm Personal Price Plan. It offers coverage options that help protect what you care about most at an affordable price just for you. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Prices vary by state. Options selected by customer. Availability and eligibility may vary.
'Tis the season to shine with H&M. Discover the holiday collection and find fashionable pieces for your wardrobe or for under the tree. Get inspired and dazzle with this year's glam. From tuxedo styles, bow detailed pieces, impressive prints, and more. From unforgettable looks to unforgettable gifts. With fashion finds to home decor, find it all at H&M. Treat your loved ones and yourself this season. Shop in-store or at hm.com.
Reboot your credit card with Apple Card, the credit card created by Apple. It gives you unlimited daily cash back that you can now choose to grow in a high-yield savings account that's built right into the Wallet app. Apply for Apple Card now in the Wallet app on iPhone and start growing your daily cash with savings today. Apple Card subject to credit approval. Savings is available to Apple Card owners subject to eligibility requirements. Savings accounts provided by Goldman Sachs Bank USA. Member FDIC. Terms apply.
Welcome back to a very light Shades of Blue. Just 3 of us today. David Greenwald has joined me. I am Thad Bell. We're both from the Blue Testament, and we have Daniel Sperry from the KC Star on also.
Howdy.
So we are here because there was some news today with Sporting Kansas City, a new player. Who wants to take the first shot at saying his name?
I don't mind taking it. It's Nemanja Radoja. I would go Radoja or Radoja. That's going to be my guess. It's pretty straightforward.
Did he get it right, David?
Well, Nemanja, I'm pretty sure is correct because there's other guys with the same first name, and they're all like Nemanja Matic. So I think that's right.
Yeah.
But I don't know about the rules on the last name, if it's a soft J or what. So I'm going to say, yeah, he did great.
The pronunciation in the announcement is Nemanja Radoja. So I know I don't say that well. All right. Defensive mid, played in La Liga. David, what was your first thoughts when you saw his name and what you've looked up?
Well, so I don't love that he's 29 and on a 3-year deal with an option for a 4th year. I think my views on this have been covered pretty well in previous pods about signing the age profile of the players that were signing. I was wrong about Eric Tommy. He was awesome this year, but I was pretty critical of signing a 27-year-old and was hoping that we were going to sign more guys closer to Willie Agada's age. So, even though I'm eating crow for that one, I still don't love that he's a 29-year-old. He's got a bit of an injury history. He's good for one a year, basically, at least a muscle injury. He's had some problems with his knees, some problems with his Achilles. So I have some concerns there. Looking at his last season in La Liga, he only played in 19 matches. He started 17 of them. But it's tough to make comparisons because his team was, 1, extremely bad. They got relegated. And 2, they played a 5-3-2. And so watching highlights of him, he's actually doesn't look like the single pivot holding mid that he will be playing if he plays for Sporting. He was playing in more of an advanced role in the few things I was able to watch today. And then there's all sorts of other stuff to try and compare. The Always Accurate Football Manager compares him actually very favorably compared to Remy. he's rated higher, has higher potential, if you will. So it's tough to make a true apples to apples comparison right now. But it's an interesting signing.
Daniel.
So I'm going to go back on this just because I have always been a fan of watching La Liga. And Celta Vigo, in the time that he was there, played some insanely sexy football. Iago Aspas, Diego Nolito, Pione Sisto was a dynamic front line that had two box-to-box midfielders in front of it in Daniel Vaz and Salvador Laboca, with Radoja anchoring the midfield, as you would see in a single pivot midfield. Their head coach had come out of a Barcelona type at the time. Their head coach had come out of kind of a Barcelona. He'd been an assistant under Pep before. That's the type of soccer that he excelled at. And he was his best. The year that they went to the semifinals of the Copa del Rey, finished 6th in La Liga for a very small team from Galicia, Celta Vigo. Their stadium really only holds about 29,000 people, and it's like ancient. It's over 100 years old, and they've done tons of modern renovation to it. But they played some insanely sexy football. 50 games as they're played in that season, with across the Europa League semifinal run where they lost to Manchester United in that 2016-2017 season. Manchester United, of course, went on to win the Europa League that year with a final victory over Ajax. That was those were some like prime years of soccer being played at Celta. And a lot of it was with him as a defensive midfielder, as the lone number 6. As new coaches have come in there, Celta has played some different formations. They lost Diego Nolito, who is an incredible wide playmaker for them, to Manchester City, and Nolito's career kind of flamed out after that. As managers came and went, systems changed. I know David mentioned that he played Levante was playing at 5-3-2. Other times they were playing, it's kind of a 5-2-1-2, weird. And so he was very, very much asked either. He was never a true single pivot number 6 in that situation for Levante. And so I think that's that as we could talk about that with Uri, maybe. Uri, though, has had multiple years in MLS where it didn't really show that he was true MLS quality regardless anymore of playing in a double pivot versus a single pivot. Didn't entirely show great this year as well as the single pivot when he had the opportunity. So I'm curious to see what type of shape Radoja comes in to the squad with. From what I was told, and I asked a few questions about it, was one, he is considered a more combative Ilie, maybe a little bit more on the physical side and the defensive acumen, a little bit less of the passing array, not the true Barcelona Sergi Busquets type 6 that Ilie was in the mold of, and that Andrea Fontes had kind of had a little bit of a role in trying to convince the team to get him here. The timing of the announcement I questioned when this deal was actually done. Was it done a little bit after the window was closed for Sporting KC to make any of those moves? Was it, or negotiations not just a little too late for him to get here through the latter part of last season? And so now they're at a point where everything's finally signed, he's got visas, and they can push it out and announce it? Or, what the timing was is interesting, because you would think that a player who was that good for many years, and we're talking over 200 appearances in La Liga over 8 years, that's a lot. 200 appearances in Copa del Rey, La Liga, or Europa League over 8 years in La Liga. That's a lot for a player. So I think it depends on what kind of shape he's in when he gets into the team in January. If you have a player that's in decent shape in January, goes through a preseason and is healthy and finds form, I don't think the quality in the resume kind of speaks for itself, in my opinion. I'm just curious how he's going to fit, because I think he's a little different than the type of 6 that I think we all imagine that Peter likes to play with, but might be really good for what he wants to do in front of that number 6.
I think you're right. He's a little bit different, or he could be at least a little bit different. We'll have to see, really, because the difference between playing against other La Liga teams and playing against other MLS teams, there is a little bit of difference there. I have seen where he was listed as one of the top free agents available in the world. Some of that was for football manager leagues, but still, there was a lot of interest in him. Apparently, like even when he was leaving Celta Vigo before he went to Levante, there was Premier League teams that were interested in him, and he had kind of. It sounded like he may have forced the issue by sitting out or not playing. They just did not play him that last year, so I don't know whether it was him pushing it or the team just pissed off at him for whatever reason. But when he's been good, he's been really good. It's just that age now, and he's had to like drop off a little bit of games each year, and maybe those injuries and such forth. But he may not be that prototypical play the long pass six that we have seen wanting out of Ilya and some other people. But he's apparently a very good short passer, which if he's set up with a guy like Andreu, who is a pretty decent longer passer, and maybe another center back who's a good longer passer, and a couple of 8/10s like Tommy and Kinda, who can come back a little bit to get the ball and play it quickly forward. So there's a lot of options there where they'll be able to go forward with that. Does that sound like something you would want to watch there, David?
Yeah, well, and that, you've mentioned before, one of the benefits of Peter is that he plays a system. But one of the downsides of Peter is that he plays a system.
Yep.
And so when we only recruit system players, we only play one way, it makes it really tough to make adjustments mid-game or tactical adjustments before a match. The idea of having a more physical kind of bruising six is a good idea. I think it's great to have some tactical flexibility, that some matches call for somebody who can get a little bit more physical. And maybe this means that Roger might not be coming back. Maybe we're replacing Roger's physicality a bit. Maybe it's just, a different look. But I love the idea of mixing it up, of at least having another option to play different than Ilya did, different than Remy plays. But I think this creates an interesting roster issue, because do we really now have 3 defensive midfielders, or are we pushing Remy forward to fight for minutes with Kinda and Tommy? Where does everybody kind of fall from here?
I would have to think Remy is in the mix of every spot, essentially, in the midfield. And then Tommy's also in the mix for playing out wide as a winger at times too, if necessary, if you're trying to get everybody on the field, or you have injuries, or you need to rotate people. But it's an interesting question. And then we still don't know what will happen with players that get dropped, the options picked up, options not picked up. That can change a lot of that. And we still make the assumptions that Kinda and Polito will be back. And I'm not saying they won't be back on the roster, but whether they will be back healthy enough and fit enough to compete for that time. So there's still so many unknowns. But one of the number one things on everybody's checklist for the offseason was a better or at least a number 6 who will compete for that spot with Remy. And that's box number 1 checked.
Yeah. And you made it. Sorry, Daniel, I didn't mean to cut you off. But you mentioned earlier that he has a pre-existing relationship with Fontes. And I'm wondering if this means that, maybe Fontes is coming back.
I tried to go fishing in that pond and did not have anything bite. But I'd be curious to see. I always, in my head, I felt like they would at least bring one back between Izzy and Fontes. So I'm curious who that's going to be. But I look at, I think the idea that they can play Tommy and Kinda at the same time is a great idea. Is it practical? I don't know. Remy Walter is arguably the best number 8 on that roster for them. I think he's grown actually a lot in the last year. We saw when he was at the 8, he was really tremendous offensive outlet. And I think when you have, so we talked here about, Radoja being a good short passer. you have Eric Tommy, who is a incredible dribbler. If you have someone who's good at making those short, tight passes and getting it to people who are the ball progressors, you don't need to make progressive passes if you have people who are ball progressors. And the progressive pass that will count as a progressive pass if those players are progressing the ball. So if you have progressors in front of you, you have someone like Tommy, you have someone like Walter, who likes, when he does get on the ball, he likes to drive at people. He doesn't really like to go sideways or backwards or forwards, or he doesn't like to go sideways or backwards with the ball. He likes to get forward. And same with Gotti as well. So you have a lot of these ball progressor types in front of him that you can dump off that short pass. We saw Remy wasn't, when he was at the Six and this team was flying for the final 10 games of the year, Remy's not a long switch type of a guy playing these, perfectly carved out passes. What was he really good at doing? Winning the ball back, dishing it off to the right person at the right time. And so if you have a guy who is physically imposing, has the right type of work rate, it's not really hard to be faster than Ilie was sometimes. And I love Ilie, and I mean that in the nicest way possible. But so with a guy like that, it's not really hard to be faster than him. And so if he's faster than him, you have someone who can cover a little bit more ground and can kind of do what Walter did, but a little bit more physicality and a little bit more brute force in a way. I think you're looking at a midfield that now has the bite to it, on top of it being really technical and really creative to dish off to a lot of talented players around it. So I think we're seeing I feel like we've seen an evolution in what Peter is okay with at the Six, and I feel like Radoja kind of fits that evolution of what we think.
I think if you go back and look, since Peter has taken over the team as the coach, the Six has went in different directions at different times. You've had Julio Cesar, you've had Sonny Mustavar, you've had Stefan Ovray, you've had Naga play there, you had Yuri play there, you had Ilie play there. They've had guys who were more ball winners and short pass guys to somebody else who then needed to play it up the field. They've had guys who, was the metronome and just ticked it around all over the place when you had two center backs who were good at it, but not as good at it. It's just that he has changed that, and it's been who he has available. And David pointed out that I've said that, strength is the system and the weakness is the system, but the system does change each year depending on who those people are. So it does change a little bit in that regard. So if he is truly more of a ball winner, a short pass guy who, I don't know what counts as a progressive pass if it has to go so far, but even if he's playing it sideways or back to a center back who then is playing it forward, because you have an Andreu Fontes who can do that. I do speculate that this is more likely that Fontes is coming back. Maybe on a, not an extended contract because he is a little bit older, but I would not be surprised because they'd already have that relationship, and Fontes is a nice counterpart to what we think he can play. We have to see what he looks like in reality when he gets here, because we've seen players show up in MLS and then disappear playing only 20 minutes in a game in Atlanta. So
you want to know what the definition of a progressive pass is for like statistical counting?
Sure.
I looked it up just because I was curious.
Oh, I've got it.
So a pass is considered progressive if the distance between the starting point and the next touch is at least 30 meters closer to the opponent's goal if the starting and finishing points are within a team's own half, at least 15 meters closer to the opponent's goal if the starting and finishing points are in different halves, and at least 10 meters closer to the opponent's goal if the starting and finishing points are in the opponent's half. So based on where the pass is played from, depending on the length, how much closer is that completed pass getting you to goal? So the whole thing of, like Eric Tommy, if you look at like his stat chart on Football Reference, which I think is great and does a really good job of mixing Stats Bomb and Opta stats for a lot of these scouting reports and things that they put out. But you look at Eric Tommy's thing, he was in the 96th percentile or somewhere in there, 96, 98, 99, something like that percentile in MLS for progressive passes received. That was a product of the midfield and the back line a little bit from Fontes as well, playing the ball into him. So if you have a guy who I wouldn't consider Remy Walter a progressive passer, someone who has that type of longer passing array in them. So somewhere those were getting to Eric Tommy and his dribbling. The amount he was one of the highest percentile dribblers in MLS as well. So like I said, those are not the lack of Elie type passing array is not a problem when you have progressors like that in the midfield. And Gadi Kinda is one of those as well when he's on the field.
For context, Remy was ranked in the 23rd percentile for progressive passes with 2.57 per game, and Nemanja is in the 5th percentile at with 1.76 progressive passes per game per 90.
And of course, I think those numbers too are within the last 365 days. Right. If you look at the basic thing too, which the last 365 days for him has been playing at a very miserable Levante team. So,
right.
Yeah. And that's a big part of it. It's a different league. It's on a team that was bad, that was getting relegated. Whether it was because he played for them or because he didn't play for him, I'm not going to speculate on that part.
He was playing towards the end of the season. And they were winning towards the end of the season.
Well, and it's tough. One of the games I got to watch was Levante was playing Real Madrid. They got trounced 6-0, and he was marking Karim Benzema in the box, and Benzema got away and scored a header, which tied him for second all time in Real Madrid goal scoring. Who the hell's going to guard Karim Benzema? I mean, nobody's going to do that very well. So
no one's going to guard Karim Benzema in MLS too. So
yeah, exactly.
Unless Karim Benzema's like closer to 40 than he is 30. So
as long as he can prevent Gareth Bale from scoring any more goals against us, I'll be happy.
What's I included when Paul Pogba did a sombrero over our new midfielder in the story that I put out today, and I kind of got a little crap from SKC PR. You had to put that one in there, didn't you? It was joking because it was the low light, but again, who's stopping Paul Pogba in that situation? So
yeah,
because nobody in MLS is doing that at the moment. Nope. All right, what else do we need to say about this guy? We speculate whether it tells us something about the center backs, but we don't know. We think he's more physical. We will see that when he shows up. Great thing is that he's going to be coming into training camp. I mean, he's been announced. I will assume that there's going to be no issue getting him into training camp on time. So he's got a full time to be in shape, to work his way into shape. If he's not in shape, to learn everybody, to mind meld with Fontas or whoever is back there. What else do we need to discuss on this guy, or do we just give a rating on the move?
I'm just happy we made the move, and not to get tribal with the PV in or PV out crowd, but I think this shows that Vermes acknowledged that the 6 was an issue. It needed an upgrade, even if it's just depth and rotation. Even if he ends up only being a squad player, I think my expectation is that he's going to be a better squad player than Yuri. I expect him to probably push to start, but we have, and that's nice that at least on paper, we've got 4 guys who are probably starting caliber between Kinda, Tommy, Remy, and Nemanja. And then certainly, Felipe can rotate in. Felipe's a nice depth piece. So I think it's great to see that Vermes acknowledged that this was a weakness in the squad, and we immediately proactively went out and improved that. I think that's as far as roster construction is concerned, I think that's a big step forward.
I do think it's interesting what Daniel brought up earlier. Was this a guy that they were actively working to get in the last window and then just couldn't get it over the line for whatever reason? I will find that out at some point in the next few months, but it might take a while. But it doesn't matter. He's going to be there. He's going to be ready. I'm counting on him being ready. Again, you're right. I don't care that he's the starting 6, because I don't think I don't anticipate his cost being that great. It'll be a salary. It's not going to be if he's a TAM player, to be a very low TAM player. He's not going to be a DP based upon salaries I've seen him have, all that stuff. But if Remy starts and he's just an extra backup piece, if he's an option to come in and play a double pivot when they, to close out a game, if he takes that starting job as a 6 because he's absolutely the best one there to do it, all of those are good options, because I'm okay with Remy being the 6 as long as there's enough depth to go around. And Yuri, I love you. Let's have you on the pod soon. All right. Scale of 1 to 10, 10 being absolutely banger, 1 being oh shit. How do you rate this move?
This episode is brought to you by Google Pixel, the official fan phone of the NBA and WNBA. The new Pixel 8 and Pixel 8 Pro are built different. How? Take the Audio Magic Eraser tool that helps block out distracting crowd noise so your play-by-play commentary sounds crystal clear. The only phone engineered by Google brings out the audio you care about so your videos sound as crisp as they look. Learn more at googlestore.com/pixelnba. Audio Magic Eraser requires Google Photos app. May not work on all audio elements.
The holidays are a time to feel and create joy. And what could be more joyous than the look on her face as she unwraps a stunning new jewelry piece from Blue Nile? How about getting 50% off your purchase? Blue Nile offers premium quality, priced below traditional retail. Their online experts are available 24/7 to answer any questions and make sure you've picked the perfect gift. For a limited time, you can get 50% off at BlueNile.com. That's 50% off at BlueNile.com.
Go first, David. Oh, I was going to say you can go first, David.
It's tough. I don't know enough about him. I haven't been watching La Liga since 2014, and so Daniel might have a better take than me. I'm going to give it like a 7.5. That without having more information, without really knowing the player, I can't say it's a 9 or a 10. But it addresses a need. He's got a good pedigree. The limited amount I was able to watch, he looked capable. So I'm going to give it a 7.5.
Daniel.
I'm going to go with I'll take an 8 out of 10 on this. I think part of it is the cost acquisition. We're a guy who's rumored to be worth a couple $2 million on the open market, on transfer market. At one point when he was at his height with Celta Vigo, he was nearly a $10 million value player. I think transfer market, real life ability, I know that's going to equate, but the ability to get someone like that on a free for multiple years, I don't care about age that much. 29, having him play for his 30, 31, and 32-year-old years isn't going to bother me, if as much as it would have been if he was like 33 coming in to sign, or if it was that random 37-year-old right back that somehow Sporting got linked to for no reason. I think there's that's not the case. We're talking about a guy who will be 30 when he plays this year, and the pedigree's there. And you watched, if you watched, go back and just look up some highlights or watch some games of Celta in 2016 and 2017. Just watch the soccer that they played over those couple of years. It's some really fun stuff. They beat Barcelona like every time for like 3 years straight, that they played them, because they were just a difficult team to deal with, and they were really dynamic in moving forward. And but a lot of it, a good portion of that came with him at the 6 in that setup. So I encourage you to go back and look at some of that, and take a look and see with what he could do. Now, is Johnny Russell or Daniel Shalhoub Diego Nolito or Iago Aspas? Probably not, but there are still very high caliber players in this league that will benefit from having a player like that, kind of protecting the midfield for him.
Yeah, I don't think we even talked about the age as much as I expected us to earlier, but 30 is kind of like in the modern soccer world, more like being 27 used to be for a midfielder, because so many more players are playing as they get older, just because they've taken better care of their bodies or science. But now some of that's might have changed over the last couple of years with lot of schedule congestion, but we'll just have to see how that goes. And that's another good aspect to this signing is having Remy and him being able to play that role, because there will be some congestion this coming season, I believe. So
I expect close to 40 games total between league and the other competitions.
God bless the League's Cup.
Up a cash grab.
All hail Soccer Don's cash grab.
And Open Cup and if they
can
can
tournament they're gonna fit.
Yeah, they're gonna tweak something else in there. And
Thad, do you think Nemanja is better, worse, or the same caliber as Sacramento Republic, like their starting 11?
That's a good question.
I so want to like just throw out some kind of silly answer to that. Yeah, we'll go with better. We'll. But then again, everybody Sporting put out there should have been better. So
agreed.
All right, my rating on the overall move is I'm just going to be the downer and say 6 until I see him play, and then I will willingly adjust that up, because it's not that I have doubts, but I just kind of want to hedge my bets, because it's too easy to go, oh yeah, there's a lot of quality. There's a lot of he's one of the interesting facts is he's got more games played in a top 5 league than any other player in Sporting since Claudio Lopez. That's a pretty good resume. Now, that doesn't mean he can still play. That's always the question. We will have to see that. I'm not saying he can't. I believe he can, but I just want to see at least a preseason game where he shuts down, Tucson FC or some shit.
International transfers are hard. Eric Tommy came from the Bundesliga, which is in and of itself is a good pedigree, but wasn't lighting the world on fire for, Bayern or Dortmund or anything. And
or even
came
Stuttgart.
in and is, I think, way better than anybody expected him to be. Willie Agata came from Israel, and nobody, you know how hard it was to find highlights of Willie Agata playing
so freaking hard.
It was so hard. And it's the Israeli leagues. You're like, okay, this guy scored a goal in the Israeli league. Like, who cares? And I mean, he was incredible. So it's impossible to tell with international transfers how good they'll end up actually being.
Yeah, and it's even within the league, man. I mean, even signing free agents within the league, they can be awesome one season and a total drop off the next. With strikers, you can be hot or cold. With defenders, they can be performing at their premium and then all of a sudden have a 20% drop off, which means they're a sieve. That's just age, man. That's just the way it is. So yeah, 30 isn't old to play midfield, but it could be if his body has been worn out by 181 La Liga games. We don't know that yet.
It's not that physical of a league, though.
No, it's not.
No,
it's not.
Very technical, a little slower, very technical.
Yeah, and that will be one of the bigger factors to him is, well, obviously he has the quality to play it. He'll have to have that step up in speed. Every La Liga player comes to MLS and goes, oh, okay. They have the ability to do it. It's just they have to do it. So
Thad, you mentioned free agents, and I just saw today that Jimmy Medranda is a free agent. I'm just willing this into existence because I so badly want it. Sign Jimmy
to SKC2.
Bring him home. No, he's not worse than Ben Sweat.
He's definitely not better, though.
Bring my guy home. Bring Jimmy back home where he belongs.
Okay.
It's kind of funny. I was actually talking to another soccer team in town today that they should sign Jimmy Medranda.
The Comets?
Yep.
or are you talking about the Current and we're gonna ladybugs him and put a wig on him and run him out?
No. We're not doing that.
Absolutely not.
All right. So anyway, any last words, man, gentlemen?
I'll just re-up my go watch Celta Vigo from like 2015 through 2017. Go look at some of those highlights, because I think that'll give you a really good idea of what and how Sporting KC are envisioning him play.
Yeah, because he's not changed at all in the last 7 years. That's accurate.
Nope. Not at all.
All right, I do want to express one high bit of confidence in this move. I have complete faith and confidence that he will have more minutes than Jose Mauri.
It's not hard.
Yeah, I mean, that's playing tennis with the net down.
Hey, Mauri is going to be the butt of every single joke that I can make in the next 5 years.
As long as he doesn't get subbed as a sub or standing there for 15 minutes, I think he'll be a better player than Mauri was.
Serbians fight harder. I have more faith.
Okay, who's more valuable? We're totally running off the rails, and you can't stop me. Jose Mauri with his extremely brief cameo, or Brad Evans, who got paid like $800,000 and never saw the field?
Brad Evans, no doubt.
Brad Evans was a locker room giant.
Not only,
and I will say that,
but training
they
ground.
did really like him. Yeah, they really did like him.
Training ground guy also, because you had young guys, you had forwards that had to go up against a quality guy in training every day. Maybe he wasn't going to be playing in the games, but they had to go up against an experienced guy. So that benefits you. Not the benefit that everybody wanted, no doubt. But if you want to start making this comparison, how do we make it to Justin Mapp? Okay.
Oh.
Justin Mapp, number 1. Brad Evans, number 2. Jose Mauri, number 17.
Not great.
Yeah.
All right. I think I may have said this already. Any last words?
I got
5,
one last
4,
plug.
3.
I got one last plug. Sorry, but I got one last thing. Even though this is a Sporting KC pod, I do want to remind everybody, October 29th, 8 p.m., the Kansas City Current are in the championship game of the NWSL playoffs against the Portland Thorns. The game's going to be on CBS, right?
Yep.
Or is it on Paramount?
Big CBS.
Both.
Big CBS.
Okay. Go watch. This is an awesome team. It's been a great playoff run. I didn't get to watch the last game because I don't have whatever Fakakta channel it was on. But we're playing for a cup. Kansas City's going to bring home a cup this weekend. Go watch.
And it's funny because I just got spent 40 minutes talking about this with Daniel. So,
yeah. See you in DC, folks.
Yeah. All right. Go Current. Go Sporting. Go Comets. Go SKC2. Go Sunflower State FC. Everybody. Talk to you later.
Sipping back an empty can. I don't give a damn if it's 9 a.m. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. Give me beer, whiskey, wine or gin, anything to shake this mood I'm in. My football team's got me drinking. Just been sent off. Supporters strong have all gone soft. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. Give me beer or whiskey, wine or gin, anything to shake this mood I'm in. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking.